whether you're planting your first seed or managing acres of land. Welcome to Let's Farm Cayman, a practical podcast series that takes you from the journey of being a beginner to an expert with wonderful practical sessions, expert interviews, expert insights. We hope you'll find it useful, beneficial, and it'll challenge you to move from the couch all the way to the backyard and start your backyard garden or expand your existing farming business. Today, this is our inaugural first episode, and I'm delighted, Isabel Gumeyi, to be joined today by Glenville Hodgson.
Good afternoon, Isabel. It's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So, the first question is, why do we need to talk about farming in Cayman? Why is food security such an important topic? What do you think, Glenville?
Well, food security is really important in Cayman. We live on an island, and the statistics that were shared recently with the Ministry of Housing of PAHI showed, the millions of dollars in terms of food that we import into Cayman and the reliance on that for our food security. And, government over the year have been really driving home that we need to ensure that we have, you know, a better food security system in place. Now, farming in Cayman is not new. We have farmed at different levels in Cayman throughout the history, and it's becoming more important now because we're emphasizing the importance of farming. And we see that today with the rising cost of food, the different disruptions in terms of wars around the world, in terms of the supply of, services, fertilizers, other raw materials that's needed in farming. So,
80%, I
yes,
understand from the Cayman Compass publication early last year, the Cayman imports 80% of our food. That's a lot.
yes,
That's a lot. That's
yes,
a
it
lot.
is.
And when you talk about the disruption in the supply chain, it really
Yes,
becomes something that affects all of us, all of us. And naturally it leads to who are we and why are we talking about it?
exactly. How did this come about?
It's a wonderful experience being in a place with such an opportunity to explore practical things. And so being part of a community, there's a mix, different people from different backgrounds, different communities, different value systems. And then as part of that, there are a number of non-for-profit organizations. So we belong to a non-for-profit organization called ASI. So Glenville, do you want to talk a little bit about ASI?
Certainly. So I am the immediate past president for ASI Cayman, and ASI Cayman is a supporting ministry of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, who believes in equipping our members who are business owners and professionals on how do we share our beliefs in our marketplace wherever we might find ourselves. I'm also currently the president for the Atlantic Caribbean Union, which comprises of the Cayman Islands, the Bahamas, and also the Turks and Caicos Islands.
Right, and I'm the president of the ASI Cayman chapter, and really our focus is community impact. How can we do something that helps to solve practical problems in the community? And how can we contribute towards positive initiatives that help the community to grow and be better? So if Cayman is focused on food security, we want to lend our voices and this platform really to invite participants from across the community. You don't have to be a member of the church to participate. And certainly you will see that from some of our guests, because what we want is to be able to bring persons together in the community to share our knowledge on how we can positively impact food security. So what should the listeners expect? What's on the horizon? We're talking about launching today, so what's on the
Yes.
horizon?
So we're going to take a deep dive. We're going to look back on the history of farming in Cayman. We're going to see where we're at today. We're going to speak to a lot of those who are influential in, deciding policies, procedures in Cayman. We're going to speak to a lot of farmers, both commercial, backyard farmers, of course, will be included also. And so we just want to take a deep dive and let's farm Cayman.
Excellent. So if you're like me and you've tried to plant something but you have not been successful, you definitely want to tune into this series because I will be learning and we'll be learning from persons who are hands-on, practical. And one of them is Glenville. So Glenville, you are
Yes.
actually a farmer. So Wow, what inspired you to get into farming?
Well, I became a farmer now. This is year 3, and it's actually, I think it was meant to be. It was, I come from, and I have family members around me who've farmed their entire lives, and so it was actually my brother-in-law who was actually looking for land here in Cayman to farm again, because they did farm before in Cayman, and we came across a nice uh, farm, existing farm, and he said maybe you should start farming, and that's how it started for both me and my wife. And it's been a really good ride so far. There's lots of ups and downs. I can't say it's all been a smooth ride. There's a lot to learn in farming, and but one of the things I can tell you, it's been very rewarding.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to some of your lessons and
Yes.
insights. So maybe tell us a little bit about what you're growing at the farm. Because I've been to the farm and there've been some good produce. So talk to
Yes.
us about what you're
Yeah,
growing.
so we grow a number of things on our farm. We're mostly a crop production farm at the moment, with the hopes of venturing on into different types of farming. Currently, we have bananas, plantains. Those are some of our staple crops. And then we have different crops that we rotate depending on the season, such as tomatoes, cucumbers, different types of peppers. I mean, the last time I counted, it was like 27 different crops that we actually grow in and out of season. Avocado is another big one that's coming into season right now. So yes, there's a lot of
27.
yes, there's a lot of things that can grow right here in Cayman that people sometimes don't realize.
That's very interesting. So one of the things that we would love to talk about in future episodes is how to know what to grow,
Yes,
and when.
and when to grow.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Because if you're planting 27, on a, I don't know how big
It,
your
it's just over 2 acres that we're growing on.
2 acres. Yeah.
Yes.
So you're
Yep.
definitely rotating and you're working through.
Yes, there are certain seasonal crops, like mango, avocados, that they come into different seasons, and then there are other rotational crops that we actually do grow.
Excellent.
Yes,
Looking forward to those discussions because,
yes,
like I said, if you're like me and you're the amateur farmer, you really want to understand from the ground up how that works. But if you already have 2 or more acres of land like Glenville, then
yes,
you'll be with other farmers as well coming on the program, talk about how you can expand and even how you move right from once you've grown it, how you sell it,
yeah,
and the whole
exactly,
supply chain and ecosystem after that.
exactly. And you don't need a lot of land to farm. I actually do farm also right in my backyard. And one of the things I find is the things in my backyard, when I do harvest, I get to share with my neighbors. You know what I mean? Because you can only eat but so much bananas. Yeah.
That's true.
And this is why we're encouraging others to farm, because then, in terms of reducing the cost of living, this is one way in which we can also help each other in terms of reducing that weekly grocery bill, so having your own supply.
Fresh, fresh,
Exactly,
fresh.
definitely.
So not just for you, but to impact and to share with your
Community,
community.
yes.
So what advice would you give for someone who wants to start growing food today?
I would say just start. You just have to start. There is a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of people like myself who are happy to talk about farming, and also to give guidance. I don't process. I'm not a professional farmer. I am on the way to being one, but I have a number of years under my belt thus far, and I think the more you're into farming, even those who have been in farming for years, there's always something new to learn. Recently I'm learning about different AI technologies that are even being used in farming. So, farming is just not placing a seed in the ground and leaving it. There's a lot of science behind how do we grow our food, so we'll definitely be learning a lot more as we um, continue on this journey. And there are many different types of farming, not only the soil, but there's also a lot of soil-less farming that is
Okay.
even being done right here in Cayman that a lot of people might not realize.
And then livestock for those who want to go into livestock as well.
There is definitely a rich history of livestock farming in Cayman, cows, sheep.
Tell us a little bit more about your farming experience.
Certainly, Isabel, farming in Cayman, has been really exciting for me and my family. It's not just myself here that's farming. My entire family also plays a role in our family farm. It's just over 2 acres that we have. And, farming in Cayman can be very difficult, especially when it's not your full-time profession, as it is for me and my family. So a lot of weekends, evenings are spent, managing whether it's sales or either, harvesting the crop or ensuring that the proper nutrients are being had for what we grow. I will also want to say, that for women and uh, uh, young people, there is a real opportunity here for them to, quickly become the CEO of their own destiny. Meaning, you can start from just in your backyard, like some people have done by just planting a few seeds and, selling them to the public, or you can, as we have done, and have a larger plot of land where we actually commercial farm. And so, as we go through this process, we'll discuss more about how do you register, because you can also register with the Department of Agriculture as a backyard farmer and as a commercial farmer. And there's a lot of benefits to be had to being registered with the department.
All right, so women, young persons, elderly, anyone and everyone can become a farmer. But there's some attire that you might need.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit.
In Cayman, there's a lot of heat in Cayman, and so you have to protect yourself. And one of the things we do wear is our straw hats to protect us from the heat in Cayman. Especially this year that we have an El Nino, it's going to be even more vital for us to protect ourselves. So normally when you're on the farm, you're wearing your long sleeves, your protective hat, your gloves, depending on what you're doing. And, hydration is also very important when you're out on the farm.
And where are the farms located in Cayman?
So we have farming all over Cayman. There are certain areas that are known for farming, in the Savannah area, in the eastern area, in the north side area, but farming at different levels is done throughout Cayman. And we have a rich history of farming in Cayman, and a lot of individuals that have played some key roles that hopefully we can mention and also discuss their contribution to farming in Cayman as we go along.
On that note, there's more to come on this program, so make sure you join us monthly. And as Glenville said, we will be doing some practical sessions, talking to different farmers, talking to different notable people in our community who are really contributing towards farming, whether it's in the fruits and vegetable side, or it's in the livestock, or it's really in the farmer's market, and really the end-to-end of the food journey. We are hoping to cover all of those, and there will be something, hopefully, that you can benefit. Because remember, food security begins with one seed, one garden, one farmer at a time. Food security and economic opportunities, they grow together, and really, it's for everyone. So whether you're a student thinking about your next career options, or you're like me, a novice who just wants to grow something that remains alive till harvest time, or you want to do it commercially like Glenville, we hope that you'll find this podcast useful and helpful for you. So join us on the next episode of Let's Farm Cayman.